Welcome to Everything Pro Wrestling. Everything Pro Wrestling is a show by the fans, for the fans. And here's your host, Conrad Cushman.
Welcome to Everything Pro Wrestling. Everything Pro Wrestling is a show by the fans, for the fans. I am your host, Conrad Cushman, and we are back with a retro review of ECW Living Dangerously 2000. We are using the new YouTube Premiere feature, so if you guys have any feedback, let me know in the live chat or in the comment section down below. Also, if this is your first time watching, you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and if you want notifications for every time we go live, hit the bell. We are going to talk about ECW Living Dangerously. If you guys are big fans of ECW, hit the like button for me. Comment down below. Tell me your thoughts on the pay-per-view or who some of your favorite ECW wrestlers are and why you loved or disliked ECW. Let's get into this. This event took place at the O'Neill Center in Danbury, Connecticut. At the time of this recording, it is actually 20 years to the date. I'm recording this on March 12th, 2020. This event took place March 12th, 2000. What a different place I was in during this time. I believe I was in 7th grade during all of this. So wild, wild times. Just had a birthday, 7th grade. Life was changing. You're thinking about everything else that you're not supposed to be. Just so different back then. So when I look back on some of these pay-per-views, I look back on them with a fondness. I remember staying up real late to watch the old ECW programming during this time. You had to catch it in the local Buffalo, New York area. We had to watch it on the Empire State Network, I believe, or the channel was called Empire. And it would come on at like 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays. Really cool though once you saw ECW in action. I always tried to catch it, but it was never on at the same time. Always very difficult to catch up with, but ECW was great when you had the chance to watch it. And we all know that during the year of 2000, ECW was really getting closer and closer to going out of business and actually going away during this time. And you'll see some of the issues kind of prevalent here, in my opinion, but it's interesting. So this show was sponsored by their video game. If you guys don't remember the game Hardcore Revolution, it was made by Acclaim. Not a great game. Same button layout and gameplay as games like WWF Warzone, WWF Attitude. Exactly the same. Lots of push over, up, circle to do a body slam, different things like that. Wasn't the greatest game, but ECW made it unique by having barbed wire matches in there, matches with fire, putting people on the outside of the ring. They tried to be different and bring that hardcore style to the video game. But that's one that you definitely, if you're a video game lover, go back, try it. I wouldn't say buy it, but just give it a try if you can find a friend who has it or whatever. Let's get into the actual review of this show. Danbury, Connecticut. I thought this was a weird placement for this show. Don't know why it was here. Maybe something changed or happened. But Danbury, Connecticut just doesn't seem like an ECW type city, but maybe I'm wrong. Just different because you always expect them to be in Philadelphia, New York City, Hammerstein Ballroom, but Danbury, Connecticut, they were on fire for this show. The crowd seemed up for it. The fans were really big time into this, so just a crowd you wouldn't expect, but Danbury still showed up for this, so it's in the tri-state area. You can't really be mad at it. Let's talk about this show, shall we? We open up with Father James Mitchell cutting a promo in an empty arena, discussing ECW wrestlers and their 7 deadly sins. I thought this was a great use of Father James Mitchell. Most people will probably be familiar from him from his time in TNA. He did a really good job here, though. I loved his character. He knew what he wanted to do. He knew he was supposed to be the sinister minister, very evil. well done. No complaints from me here. And it was a great way to use Father James Mitchell, I thought, in the opening of this during this time period. We come out to fans chanting as usual, ECW, ECW, ECW. And they're going crazy while we have Joey Styles and Joel Gertner in the ring. And, dude, it was just crazy to think, like, a year from this time period, they would be out of business. Just think about that for a second. Like, fans are in there chanting ECW. The Danbury, Connecticut crowd looked like they were enjoying this show, and they're going to go out of business a year later. Very sad to see that happen to ECW. I always thought that they had something there. I don't know where the issues came in, if it was mismanaged money, whatever it may be. You watch all the documentaries, and they have different reasons, different excuses for why everything happens. But ECW to me was a great product, something I enjoyed. Even when things were tough, they knew how to put on a hell of a show, these guys. We start off with Joey Styles welcoming you to the pay-per-view, and then you get Joel Gertner with his well, and it is I, the quintessential stud muffin, Joel Gertner. And he always went through this long diatribe of saying something completely filthy, turning it around, and then making it even more filthy. Joel Gertner was loved. Really good stuff. I always enjoyed him. He always came out with like the neck brace with leopard print and the bow tie on it. Really good. And it was weird to see Joey Styles kind of with somebody else, because you got used to Joey Styles being the one-man announce team. He would call everything, do everything. Joey Styles is someone who truly does not get enough credit when you look at ECW and their history. So to start out, they're getting all the fans love, getting people hyped up for the show. Here comes the heat. It's Cyrus. Don Callis is Cyrus, if you guys didn't know. He was the Jackal in the WWF. Don Callis is an amazing talent, and I thought he did a great job in the role as the Network. Paul Heyman was a genius to create a heel character who was going to be someone representing the Network, and using that to portray his actual feelings towards TNN at the time, who basically Paul Heyman blames for why ECW went out of business with what they did as far as the screw job goes. So Don Callis comes out, and he is basically yelling, screaming, and insulting Joel Gertner. Says that he would beat Joel Gertner's ass, basically. And Joel Gertner steps up, which would surprise most people. He gets right back in Don Callis' face, and Cyrus ends up hitting him with a big boot. Most people did not know this, but Don Callis was a wrestler. He was in a tag team at one point with Rick Martel, and I thought they were going to get the opportunity to go to WCW as a tag team. WCW didn't need them both, so Rick Martel ended up going to WCW. He went to the WWF, and this is a little bit after the fact, and he's here in ECW now. So for those who didn't know, he was a wrestler at one point. Lays out Gertner with a big boot. Cyrus does a great job here. He gets the heel heat. The fans hate this dude. Really good. He ends up pounding on him. Joey Styles interferes in this and tries to get him off of Joel Gertner, and it cuts to the ECW TNN intro, which is perfect for Cyrus's character and everything else. And you just get that classic when you hear the music, the doo-doo-doo. You know what you're going to get. You see the ECW highlights of Rob Van Dam, Spike Dudley getting thrown into the crowd, Bam Bam Bigelow and Taz going through the ring. Like, you can, when you hear that music, that's all that plays through my head. So very wild when you see it. The first matchup to kick off this pay-per-view, we have the old school hero, Steve Corino, with Jack Victory, taking on the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, if you will. And Steve Corino ends up coming out first before this match even begins, and he's cutting a promo. We have some really bad audio issues in the beginning of this. That's still seen on the WWE Network. That's the way I watched this, actually. And he insults the Sandman's wife, says that she slept with Raven, called his kid a bastard. Steve Corino was getting heat here, and this just made her livid. She was not feeling this at all, And then he ends up calling his wife a whore. Like, dude, this is not for the faint of heart, this review. ECW gets a little bit wild, and he called his wife a whore. And, you know, the fans were loving it, digging it. He's healing it up. And eventually they grab her, throw her into the ring, and Rhino comes out and joins in on all of this. And then they tease like Steve Corino is going to do something completely terrible. I'm not even going to bring it up. And during all of this happening, here comes the Sandman. And when the Sandman comes out, that's when you start to see how things are going to turn in all of this. The Sandman comes out and he protects his wife, but he ends up getting his ass beat. Atlas Security comes into the ring to break things up. Sandman versus Rhino will be taking place later on for the ECW television title tournament at this point, because Rob Van Dam is injured. Rob Van Dam is out at this moment in time. He was the longest reigning champion in ECW for, I believe it was over 2 years. He was the television champion. Rob Van Dam was crushing it, and he had to be taken out. He had a broken ankle. This was just great stuff. The original build was going to be the ECW television champion Rob Van Dam versus Mike Awesome, is what Paul Heyman wanted, and that ended up getting crushed right here. So Heyman's plans have fallen apart at this point because of an injury. So he has to change everything on the fly. Van Dam is out, and he's got to figure out how to put everything together. Boom. So we get into the whole champ versus champ concept for a second here, but let's get back to the main card. Dusty Rhodes, Steve Corino in a Texas Bullrope match, if you will, baby. This was fun. Fun is just the easiest way to describe this. Dusty Rhodes in the year 2000. Could you imagine seeing him wrestle? He was over. I remember seeing this and I was shocked that Dusty Rhodes was wrestling in ECW. Steve Corino, though, was the perfect person for him to face. I really liked what Steve Corino's character had become at this point. He wasn't coming out looking like a happy-go-lucky kind of wrestler. He came out as a heel, and I thought Steve Corino did a tremendous job with all of this. They fight in the crowd to start everything, using the corner of the cowbell to get some blood in this match. There was blood everywhere. The cowbell was used in the bull rope match. They're going through all of the people. The referee was beat up by Corino. Dusty flips off Corino. This was just something completely different than you would expect from the American Dream from the 70s and 80s. Dusty was not being the all-American good guy in this one. Dusty came out to show he was hardcore and he could hang with the best of them when it came down to fighting. Love it. This match didn't overstay its welcome. It was short, sweet, to the point. Brawl through the crowd, get in the ring. The story is simple. Just what I said. Dusty Rhodes is a badass, and Steve Corino's got to get his comeuppance. And eventually, Jack Victory gets his. Steve Corino gets his. Flips him off. Drops the big elbow on Steve Corino. 1, 2, 3. The American Dream picks up the victory in this one. I gave this match a grade of a B-. I thought it was just simple, fun. Couldn't be mad at it at all. I have no complaints or issues when it came to this match. Good stuff. Good stuff to see Dusty on this pay-per-view. Next, we have Sandman and his wife we're being told, are at a hospital, and Cyrus makes a questionable executive decision saying that the Sandman has forfeited his match against Rhino. Boo. Joey Styles sees this awfully convenient as to how the attack occurred. Cyrus was in the ring, and then all of a sudden, Rhino, who was Cyrus's favorite, he was the network's choice basically, was put into a prime position. They took out the Sandman. Corino set up everything. Corino seemed to be in on this as well, and they were just all of the network's favorite people. So Joey Styles smells a conspiracy, it sounds like, with all of this. Next up, we have Lou E. Dangerously coming out, a Paul E. Dangerously ripoff with the big cell phone. He is in the ring with the Enforcer, C.W. Anderson, and beautiful Billy Wiles, and they are going to be getting ready to take on Danny Doring, Roadkill, and they are accompanied to the ring by Elektra. Now, They enter with horrible dub music on the WWE Network. So sometimes it is well worth your time, patience. Go find the real versions of these, because in ECW they actually used real themes. Sandman came out to Metallica's Enter Sandman. Raven came out to Offspring's theme. They just had so many, and Offspring made Raven's theme is what I should have said. Raven just, they did so many different things. Tommy Dreamer, Alice in Chains, Man in the Box. You don't get to hear that on the WWE Network versions because they weren't supposed to use those themes. Luckily, Paul Heyman's father was a lawyer, and he found a way to get around that stuff during that time period. But it's synonymous with ECW when you go back and hear these themes and how everything played itself out in all of this. Well worth it. So we get into this matchup here. Both teams are very athletic, surprisingly. Roadkill, if you guys have never seen him, he's a really big guy, but he can do some impressive things jumping off the top ropes for this time period. Really good. Danny Doring is another ECW wrestler, never given enough credit. I think most people see him now on YouTube in the shoot interviews, doing those things. But Danny Doring was a really good wrestler, and I thought he deserved more than he got in the business. And CW Anderson is great. If you guys haven't seen him recently, he's on NWA Power. And beautiful Billy Wiles, I didn't know too much about him. I looked him up. Another accomplished wrestler. Great tag team action in this one. The finish, though, comes with a heel turn. Elektra, who had been with Danny Doring and Roadkill for a little bit, turns on Roadkill. She ends up tripping him on the top rope. He ends up landing on the boys, and CW Anderson hits a beautiful spinebuster after Lou E uses his cell phone. Elektra turns on Roadkill. Come on, what did my man Roadkill do? And they get the victory here. Love it. I gave this a C+. It wasn't anything to write home about. They did their usual spots in this, if you remember these matches. Roadkill got his springboard double clothesline off the top rope. Danny Doring carried a lot of the work for most of the team in the ring. That was it, man. CW Anderson and Bill Wiles, they just wrestled. They did exactly what you would have expected when they had the Dangerous Alliance. If you see Arn Anderson and beautiful Bobby Eaton, the exact same thing. And I thought it worked here. So these were two up-and-coming tag teams with a match that was a C+. Next up, we have a match that is announced, which is Simon Diamond versus Kid Kash. It looked like was going to be the match. Simon Diamond pieces out, though, as soon as he hears Mike Awesome's music hit. Now, Mike Awesome was at this time managed by Judge Jeff Jones. He comes out, and Mike Awesome has the ECW title, and he is also one half of the ECW Tag Team Champions at this point. Like I said, plagued with injuries, belts were being moved around, a lot was happening in the year 2000 in ECW. Mike Awesome was who they built around, though. So he is coming out to the ring, and Mike Awesome is a beast. He is probably one of the bigger competitors in ECW, and he's getting ready to face Kid Kash. Who's Kid Kash? He actually looked a lot like Kid Rock, and that's where they played off of the theme. I believe he came out to Ball with the Ball, actually, too, as his theme. And Kid Kash was someone who was a great high flyer. You would get to see him in WWE in 2004, but Kid Kash does his thing in this match with Mike Awesome. Mike Awesome just comes in and basically destroys Kid Kash. They do a nice dive into like the third row with Kid Kash and a springboard. Awesome bomb on Kid Kash. He gets a table, and he gets an awesome bomb through the table. Remember, in ECW 2, there were no rules at this time. You could try and do whatever you want to do, but that's just exactly what's going to happen. Tables will get brought into a match, and it's over. Awesome bomb through the table on Kid Kash. 1, 2, 3, quick and easy. I give this a C+ for a rating. Afterwards, Jazz comes out to check on Kid Kash. They were doing a storyline at this time where Jazz was friends with Kid Kash, basically, and she comes out to check on him, and it was over after this. they just were just teasing something with Jazz here, but nothing really came to be, so I didn't understand it. Maybe it plays out more on ECW television after this. I don't fully remember what happens, but she checks on him, and Simon Diamond then comes out, and he is instructing two names that you may be familiar with from New Japan, Jado and Gedo, to beat down Jazz while she's still in the ring. And they come in and they take care of it, but who comes to make the save? Nova, aka Simon Dean, and Chris Chetti, who was one of like the ECW like upstarts that they were trying to promote as like a blue chipper kind of. And I think Taz trained him, if I'm not mistaken. And they come out to make the save for the match. And what do you know? We got ourselves a match. This is Team No Respect and FMW, Jado and Gedo versus Nova and Chris Chetti. This one has lots of miscommunication with Nova and Chris Chetti. They just don't seem to be on the same page. It's not like when Nova was in the BWO with Meanie and Stevie Richards. This isn't flowing right. I get what they're trying to do, and to see him in this role seems like he's trying to help Chris Chetti out a lot. I don't know. I just felt like they weren't on the same page this night, and it wasn't working. Jado and Gedo hit a super bomb on Nova. Afterwards, we get the tidal wave, leg drop, and splash combo. They end up picking up the victory here. Nova and Chetti, I give this a grade of a C. It was all right. It was just what it was. They hit the tidal wave, they called it. It's what it is. They were trying to promote new tag teams. Like I said, Mike Awesome is defending his tag titles later on in this pay-per-view show as well. The tag scene was just a mess in ECW at this point. So we go backstage, and they are in the bathroom, and Louie and Elektra are cutting a promo. Elektra is trying to cut this heel promo as best she can. She holds her own a little bit in here, but it's nothing to write home about. Just your classic normal setup, like, I turned on you because you didn't give me a chance. I wanted to be a star. And Louie is just kind of, feeding into doing the old Paul Heyman gestures. Exactly what you would expect for this. Next up, we have a semifinals ECW television title match. We have Super Crazy versus Nunzio, Little Guido, with Big Sal Graziano in his corner for this one. Now, if you guys remember, Super Crazy, Tajiri, and Nunzio, Little Guido, I'm going to call him Nunzio in this, they had awesome triple threat matches. So going into this, I thought this was going to be a great match. Was it? Let's talk about it. Super Crazy hits a moonsault to start off on Nunzio and Sal on the outside. Super Crazy was super. He was crazy back then. He used to do moonsaults off the balconies and everything else. Super Crazy was someone you did not want to miss during the 2000s of ECW. Afterwards, he goes out to the floor. Nunzio ends up catching him in a Fujiwara armbar on the floor, one of his infamous moves that he loved to use. While out on the floor here, we get Big Sal's belt being used on Super Crazy. Super Crazy introduces a table into the match. Nunzio goes through it. We have a moonsault for an odd kick out, and then we get a brain buster. And 1, 2, 3. It's over just like that. I expected so much more from this match with Super Crazy and Nunzio, but I get it. They were trying to do a title tournament at the same time. You're promoting like, hey, we got to get a new ECW television champion. Rob's out. It was just rough here, man. You were kind of rushing through this one. C+, not enough time to really get into it, but it started off well, is the best thing I can say about it. So it'll be Rhino versus Super Crazy in the finals for the ECW Television Championship. Then we get more video game promo for the ECW video game I talked about before. And next up, we have Kane Maru versus Balls Mahoney. This match was a dud. This came off very quickly. Balls Mahoney just hits the nutcracker on him. 1, 2, 3. Picks up the victory. That's just what it is. Nothing else really happened. And afterwards, after the match, there's an attack by the Baldies in ECW. If you guys remember them, they come out and they just start trying to beat down Balls Mahoney. What does this lead to? Now, ECW did a lot of things that are transitioning in. I mentioned the beatdown on Jazz before by Gedo and Jado. They just do so many different things that transition in. So the Baldies are out there, and whose music hits? New Jack. And if you guys don't know, New Jack had an awesome theme that he would wrestle throughout the match. If you are a Dr. Dre fan, you'll know the theme I'm talking about. He comes out there, and it's not played throughout this, trust me. They have some horrible dub music on the WWE Network for this. The original gangster New Jack and Vic Grimes are having themselves a match, a Danbury street fight it's called. And we start off in a PlayStation is used on DeVito. They just come out. I don't know where New Jack got a PlayStation from to where he was like, you know what, I'm just going to hit somebody with this shit. He just picks it up, smashes it over his head. Angel ends up getting a guitar shot. I love the way when New Jack used to play the guitar, the smoke would come from the guitar after him using it. Vic Grimes then uses a pizza cutter on New Jack's head. Absolutely disgusting to see this type of stuff. I never understood why they have stuff like this in these matches. That's just brutal to watch, especially how wrestling is in 2020 these days. But a pizza cutter used on New Jack. They end up fighting into the crowd. This is a brawl. And when I'm talking about this, they're punching each other, throwing each other into the walls, everything else that's happening. The fans are following them. Atlas Security holding back the fans. And they end up making their way to the crowd. During all of this, Vic Grimes gets a table. New Jack is bleeding profusely. He ends up getting sandwiched between two tables. He gets up and they both climb to a scaffold. Now, this scaffold is pretty high up. I don't know what these two were thinking during all of this. I don't know what the original plans were. And if you guys are going to watch Dark Side of the Ring by Viceland, this is probably going to come up in New Jack's episode. So remember this moment that I'm talking about here. New Jack pulls Vic Grimes and lands on his legs, and Grimes lands on his face and chest on top of New Jack. So New Jack was supposed to pull him, and I think they were both supposed to go through, but Grimes just lands right on New Jack. Like, it was terrible. Like, you could tell something went completely wrong in this. They just looked nervous up there on the scaffold doing this spot, and nothing came out right on this. And the grade for this one, I put just holy shit, because something went completely wrong. They stopped it after this, and they kind of, I won't say played it off, but they definitely were like, what did we just see? And it winds up being something that is a big moment in New Jack's career. And like I said, if you watch that Viceland preview that they have up, there is stuff that happens after this that is, number one, disgusting to hear about. But New Jack is somebody in wrestling who just has been known for these crazy moments, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to be talking about the after effects of this match. So that'll be my little promotion for them. Make sure you guys check that out, and that may be something I'm interested in reviewing on the channel as well. So if you guys like that, let me know. I love those real series when they bring up stuff, especially those Viceland ones. Next, we have a three-way dance for the ECW tag titles. Now remember this, in ECW, when you hear three-way dance, what does that normally mean? Elimination. There is none of this patty cake, one team gets pinned and then it's over. In ECW, this is an elimination style match. Who are the teams? The current tag team champions, Mike Awesome and his tag team partner Raven. It's a completely weird team to me. Versus Tommy Dreamer and Masato Tanaka. Dreamer and Raven were feuding. Mike Awesome and Masato Tanaka were feuding at this point as well. And the third team in this is the Impact players, Justin Credible and Lance Storm. Now, to me, this match is a brawl right from the get-go. Everybody is in the ring just ready to fight, raring to go. And everybody in here is just distinct, different personalities. Crazy. The Impact players want the belts. Awesome, Tanaka, Raven, and Dreamer all have beef with each other. We get to see a really cool drop toe hold and side suplex through the table on Awesome. We saw so many different things happen on this one. How is an elimination going to occur? Masato Tanaka hits a roaring elbow for the 1, 2, 3. Raven and Awesome are the first ones out. So in the land of ECW, that gets you hyped because you are guaranteed to see new tag team champions at this point. So Masato Tanaka, Tommy Dreamer are left versus the Impact players. Now, we have lots of fighting. There's blood. Dreamer eats the spike pile driver from the Impact players. Lance Storm is an athletic beast in all of this. If you guys have not seen Lance Storm in his prime, in my opinion, the year 2000 was the year of Lance Storm. He does great stuff. I would say damn near tremendous. If you want to learn how to wrestle and just be super solid in the ring, Lance Storm is someone you want to watch. Just Incredible at this time too, had lots of momentum. I think this is where he was at his peak. This was where he was at his character's best point, was in ECW during this time period. Just Incredible delivers. I give this match a grade of a B. I thought this was really fun for a three-way dance. I love the rules of the elimination. The components were weird in this, but I still thought that this was a fun match. If you understand everything that's going on in it, you're going to be good and solid on this one. Next up, we have Cyrus coming out for the television title finals match. Cyrus is out there, and he introduces Rhino, Jack Victory, and a bloody Steve Corino. Steve Corino still feeling the effect from American Dream, Dr. Rhodes whipping that ass, if you will. And Heyman comes out and he is MFing the network, which was TNN at the time. Heyman cuts great promos on the network. Go back and find them on YouTube, the WWE network, when you guys have time to watch that. Paul Heyman's promos were fantastic during this time period. Really good. And I love what he does here. So we have the ECW television title finals. We have Rhino versus Super Crazy. And this is your main event of the pay-per-view. Rhino is the hard to defeat beast in the ring. He is the hand-picked person of the network. And he's taking on the underdog, Super Crazy. This one is going to be an interesting one. So, Rob Van Dam's title reign was 23 months. I know I said 2 years before. He was real close to that time period, and I do believe he would have got over 2 years if he never got hurt. So, I was wrong on that. So, excuse me on that from before. So, he was 23 months the television champion. A great long title reign. You did not see reigns like that back then. I can't think of a reign that was as long as that until Samoa Joe in Ring of Honor. So, that was really, really good stuff. A table is set up on the outside. I feel like I say that in all of these matches. Tables, chairs, things were just getting brought up whenever. So in this, table set up on the outside. Rhino press slam Super Crazy through the table. Powerbomb on Crazy. 1-2, Super Crazy kicks out for a near fall. I thought it could have been over right there for how they've built up Rhino throughout this entire night to make him seem like he is the man, the handpicked one that they are going to let win this. But Super Crazy builds up some offense, and then as soon as he gets cut off, Jack Victory is giving Rhino another table, and it gets set up in the corner. Rhino then goes for a gore but misses. Rhino goes through the table. Super Crazy gets a crossbody for the 1-2. Rhino kicks out now for a near fall. Just when you thought he had the upset, Super Crazy doesn't have it yet. Super Crazy then goes for his finisher. At this time in ECW, he would do 3 moonsaults. One off the bottom rope, then the middle rope, then the top rope. Super Crazy hits his 3 moonsaults and then pulls ref right there on top, but the referee is down afterwards. There's a ref bump. Chaos begins. Here comes Tajiri. He comes out and misses Super Crazy and hits a buzzsaw kick. The referee is still out, and another table is brought into the ring. And then who hits the ring but Scotty Riggs and Rob Van Dam? That's right. Scotty Riggs from the American Males comes out, and Rob Van Dam is coming out. And you can see he's injured. He is limping, but they wanted him a part of this because he was their biggest superstar at the time. I don't think people know how much Paul Heyman was investing in Rob Van Dam. You could see it months before this. Rob Van Dam was the future of ECW, and that's who Paul Heyman planned to build the companies back on. Rob Van Dam was going to be the next guy for him. And he comes out, and he is bringing his crutch with him. He breaks the crutch out, and he just busts him up. Super Crazy hits a moonsault, and 1, 2, 3. Rob Van Dam and Scotty Riggs help Super Crazy become the ECW television champion. Super dope, man, that this happens. Super Crazy wins, but then in ECW fashion, it's not over because a brawl breaks out, and everybody's fighting, and there's only one person left who has to come back: the Sandman. He gets his epic entrance with Metallica's music playing, with the beers, the cane, everything. He comes out, and Sandman is ready to whoop some ass. He comes out and beats the hell out of Rhino with that cane for what he did earlier in the night to start off the show. ECW is following the message of sending the fans home happy on this one. Rhino is going back up the ramp. He is scathing. He is pissed. The network is not happy, and Sandman stands tall in the ring with his fellow ECW brethren, and that is how they go off the air for this pay-per-view. I give this match a B+. I thought it was a lot of fun. Lots of shenanigans in here. I know fans of today will say this is overbooked, perhaps, but this is what ECW was during this time period, and I thought it was fun, and I loved that Sandman got his comeback. Rhino got his comeuppance, and during this I really thought Rhino was going to be the one to win this, so it was a nice touch to see Super Crazy win the television title here. You don't remember all this stuff when you go back and watch it, so it's definitely a good time. Time for the overall show grade for this one. If it were up to me and I had to choose what the overall show grade for this would be, I would give this a B-. It wasn't the greatest of pay-per-views, but even in the short matches and matches that didn't mean much, it all came back later on, whether it was Mike Awesome losing the tag team titles later on and still going off of his feud with Masato Tanaka. Everything just had a meaning, and it would come back later on. The feud that started at the beginning of the show with calling Sandman's wife a whore, Sandman getting beat down, not being able to compete in the television title tournament, to him coming back at the end of the night to stand tall for ECW. That is exactly how you do it. So overall grade for this one, a B-. I hope you guys enjoyed this retro review for ECW. Definitely go back and check this out. And I want to tell you guys this too. The original thought process for this video was this was going to be shown when I went to AEW Rochester on Wednesday. Instead, you guys are going to get to see this on a Tuesday, and that's when I will premiere this video. But freaking rough, man. The coronavirus has stopped so many of these shows right now. ECW in Rochester, or I said ECW, excuse me, AEW in Rochester is off the table. It's not happening. They're going to be doing a show from Jacksonville. I will be reviewing that show tomorrow. You'll get my live thoughts on it. I'm kind of disappointed that we won't be there to see the reveal of the Exalted One. I was really hyped for the tag matches that they had promised us, but it looks like we're getting a show in July at the Rochester Arena, so we'll see what happens with it. Coronavirus ruining everything right now, but I want everyone to make sure that you guys are taking care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones. Don't play around with any of this stuff right now. Everything is just going wild right now with how it's happening. But thank you guys so much for joining me for this ECW Living Dangerously 2000 retro review. Let me know your thoughts down below, though. Did you guys enjoy this pay-per-view card? Go back and watch it and just come back on here with your thoughts. I want to hear what you thought of ECW. Let me know if it was your first time watching, if you just were a long-time fan and you finally went back to watch this. Let me know what you guys thought. With that being said, I'm Conrad Cushman from Everything Pro Wrestling, and we are out. Peace.
Are you looking for the newest and hottest in the world of pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 6,000 hours of the best events from over 150 of your favorite promotions from 20 different countries around the globe. Brands like Progress Wrestling, Evolve Wrestling, Combat Zone, Defy, PCW Ultra, PWX, Over the Top, Shine, and hundreds of others with fresh content added every day for only $5.99 per month. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
Everything Pro Wrestling. It's your boys from the Everything College Basketball Podcast and Facebook group. I'm Josh Burton, letting you all know that if you like the college game, that there's only one spot to come find all you need to know.
Yep, Josh, Peyton, and myself, Tyler. We are the three voices of ECB Podcast and Facebook group. Peyton, tell them where they can find us and listen to us at.
Well, Tyler, you can find us on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and all other podcast hosting sites. Also, go join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups like Everything College Basketball.
So if you want everything you need to know about the collegiate game or have a passion for it, there's only one spot that you need to check out on a weekly basis or a daily basis with the Facebook group. That's Everything College Basketball. Now let's get back to Conrad informing you on everything pro wrestling and the workings around it.
Brother,